So a little bit more explanation for how you're going to complete your proof paragraph organizer today. So here's an example of how to complete for proof paragraph point 1, and this is based on the model essay. So the first point that supports your focus statement, because this is a compare and contrast essay, your first point is going to be your similarities, where you see some similar events or descriptions in the both texts. Your evidence part, you need to find evidence that supports your similarities. Now, as we saw in the model essay, there were 2 points of similarities, the journey and treatment at the camp. So if you look back at your comparing text note catcher, you want to look at all the evidence you gathered and think about 1 or 2 possible topics where you saw some similarities between A Long Walk to Water and The Lost Girls of Sudan. For example, there is a similarity about the refugee camp. They both refer to the refugee camp as a prison. But you'll want to think about what are the 2 topics that I saw that were similar. So in the model essay, he saw similarities in the journey and the treatment at the camp. You need to look at your note catcher and decide what those similarities are. Underneath your topics, you might want to use bullets like you see here. What is the evidence to support that? So if you're saying that the journey is where these 2 texts have a similarity, you now want to provide some evidence that proves the similarity is there. Now notice these pieces of evidence. Sometimes it's quoted directly from the selection, and you can see the quotation marks here because it's coming straight from the text. But the author also paraphrases. He puts the evidence into his own words. I will tell you, after grading many, many essays, students want to give too much quoted evidence. The evidence does not have to be quoted evidence. It could be you explaining it in your own words. For example, in chapters 1 through 11, Salva describes the horrors of the long journey in detail. He includes hunger, thirst, and people dying. None of that is a quote from the book, but it's still evidence. So be careful when you're pulling textual evidence. You don't need to quote too much of the text. The more that you can put into your own words, the better, because if you can put it into your own words, that means that you have a real understanding of the text. However, you do want to quote accurately, as you can see how the author did here. He's got his quotation marks, and he also has his page numbers where he's getting those quotations from. So be mindful about your evidence. So I would organize your evidence this way. What are the 2 topics that are similar? What's the evidence to support those topics? You would do the same thing for differences, which would be your blue proof paragraph for point 2. Going back to your note catcher, where are 2 topics where you saw some differences? Even with the refugee camp, we see a difference. She chooses to spend little time on Kakuma and doesn't describe the way girls and women were treated there. So that's also a difference. So on your organizer, just like you see here, you'll want to think of 2 topics where it was different. And then underneath those topics, giving evidence to support it. The last thing on your essay organizer, how does this evidence support this point? So the point that I'm trying to make is that the author of A Long Walk to Water included similar events to the author of The Lost Girls of Sudan. But now I want to explain in my own words how this evidence supports the point I'm trying to make. So remember the essay prompt. how did Linda Sue Park use or alter history? Now for proof paragraph 1, I'm trying to support that she used history. So I said, Park wanted to mimic history for parts of her novel. The treatment and journeys Salva took are strikingly similar to the real-life experience of Langbanny. So I'm explaining how this evidence proves that Linda Sue Park used history. Now, in your point 2, your differences, you would want to explain how your evidence proves that she altered history. So this last question is you explaining in your own words how this evidence answers the essay prompt question. How does Linda Sue Park use or alter history? So take a few minutes to work on your essay organizer. If you would like for me to take a look at what you've put on your essay organizer, I will, but you need to put something down first. And once you have some information on your essay organizer, I will look at it with you. I hope this was helpful. Thanks, guys.